I'm in sound and I got issues.
Oh yeah, those are good because the legit. Now there's none of that.
Today's issue is Immortal Rising issue 1. Created, written, and co-edited by Aaron C., co-editor Alia Domina, artist interior and front cover Jose Garcia, artist back cover Abel Vera, artist world map Damian Jarek, artist logo Andrew Sommer, and artist graphic design, branding, and additional art by Chris Fisk. I'm going to be using the silent scale: S for story, A for arts, L for lettering, A for action, and D for drama. How does this book rank? Of course, I got my handy dandy notes here. Starting with the story. We're on the plain of Alfhelm in the Kingdom of Highwind. We are following a graduating team of rangers, and 4 of them have been selected to do the festival boar and kill it, and then bring it back for the festival. And we got the princes are accommodating them because they want to see what it is like to see the best rangers. It's shown that Drake is into Lori. He wants to ask her out after this whole festival boar thing going on. They got the princes with them. I like seeing the princes' perspective on the rangers. The princes are like, yeah, we just gotta look at them, say they're doing a good job, and they'll like us. Versus the rangers talking about the princes being on the hunt with them. They're like, oh man, I can't believe you have to deal with a bunch of spoiled rich kids. And they're talking about what it took for them to pass this ranger thing. They had to be in the forest with no food, no water, no shelter. They just had to jump in the forest and take care of themselves, be part of nature, or let nature take over them. And every time I get to this page, every single time, I'm stopped in my tracks and a little bit confused. And it's the page right after they're like, oh yeah, we had to make a team in order to survive. The page goes from light to dark, and I can't tell it's a flashback because I don't understand in which the context would be for a flashback. We got the same group with the frickin' princes alongside them, and they're having like a jokey time. They're not even together yet. They haven't gotten to the princes yet in the story, and now I'm suddenly seeing them. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna look for Animal, Lori, and the other prince, the one with the mask on his face. And then he finds the boar, and it's like really big. He's like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna fight this boar, right? And then it goes back to Drake and Lori having a conversation. I'm like, what's the context in which I looked at? Every time I read this book 3 times, right, in order to review this. Every single frickin' time I'm confused. I don't understand what it has in placement of the story. I just can't figure it out. It's not clear enough. I can't tell if it's a flashback or not. Have they been on a hunt before? But they're just becoming rangers. Is this some sort of prediction for the future? I can't tell. But they stop talking and they join up with the princes, and then they have a big old walk and they're making fun of each other, and it's really fun and nice. I like seeing the 2 classes make fun of each other for different reasons. The rangers are like, oh, you can't even wipe your own butt. Ha ha ha. And these freaking princes are like, oh, you guys are just weak? Oh, this is the most you guys can do? They be walking in the forest, and then they reach the point in which there might be a boar there. Then we see a chick in the astral plane. She's talking to this person. This person lost the ruby. She's trying to get the ruby back. And she's been instructed to invade Terra, and so that's what she does. And then there's this guy who's like giving this power. He's going to protect Terra, Cathedral of Antrolicus. Yeah, that's like the big old hope beacon in Terra. And there's this one guy who is, for the past 5 years, made it so Dracula can't be in total darkness all the time. He changed that fate. And this guy is on this planet here because, he fought Dracula. He made it so it's not forever darkness anymore. There's some daytime. And he's got a lot more work to do, but that's what he's up to. He's going to stop all the monsters on this planet. And then this Empress arrives at Terra. We're waiting for further instructions, but we're here to invade Terra. And then we're back on the group, and they have a little bit of a talk. Turns out one of the princes didn't bring a toiletry bag. He didn't even think about it. I'm like, wow, you're woefully unprepared. And then guess what? The freaking boar that they're looking for just suddenly comes out of nowhere, injures Lori. They're like in the middle of like shock. Like, what's happening? What's going on, right? And then they have a big old fight, fighting the boar, and then the boar really injures Lori. And then this Empress, I can't tell if it's her causing the teleporting. All it says is like throughout the dimensions, the Noctis weaves individual souls together. So I'm like, what force is causing them to be suddenly teleported? And they teleport to Terra, and Lori is almost dead. She's not quite there. She can be gauzed up and stitched up. They just need a healer. And Drake's like, oh, I'm gonna go up top. I'm gonna leave her unattended to two princes who don't care about her. And guess what? That's what happens. They leave her unattended. And then the zombies on this planet eat her. They have to shoot these zombies, right? And it's shown that these princes have magical powers. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. I like how they're not completely useless. And then Lori's just dead. I'm like, bro, this book ends on the main character's like love interest dying. That goes hard. Confusion in the middle aside, the ending is like, oh my goodness. This has taken me aback. It's got me interested in Immortal Rising issue number 2. I actually got that book, and I'm very excited to read that. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to review that soon. They also meet a man. The Man of Terra just shows up. He's a healer, but he can't help and heal these people. Also, the 4 rangers is now 2 rangers when they got teleported. And then the 2 princes. And now it's just him being a ranger, this healer guy from this planet, and the 2 princes now. And then there's a Knights of Localus part 1 in the back, and it's basically just like noticing that there's the teleportation happened on Terra, and they're gonna help fight the forces on Terra. And then they're like, wait, who are these people that just teleported? I don't know. Well, they don't seem like they're against us. I don't know, though. And that's pretty much the story of the book. The story has got me interested in the 2nd issue, and if you've done a comic book right, you want the reader to be interested in the 2nd issue, so good job. Now it's time for art. I love Jose Garcia's style. I especially loved how he did the cover and the interiors match. It's got an cartoonish and vibrant art style, plus the colors are poppin'. The character designs are distinct. Lots of detail on the wide shots. There's not a ton of wide shots in this comic book, but whenever there is, it's well detailed and well rendered, and I enjoy it. The anatomy on the first cursory glance looks solid, and then rereading it, I'm like, noticing a few anatomy issues. Probably the most distinct one was like the Empress when she had her hand up, and I was like, wait, that arm is too short. And then I did the mental math right, and it's like her elbow is like going right here, right? When normally your elbow wants to go like down here. And then like that would have left the wrist being down by your hips instead of like this part right here. This always is the crotch level. When you're drawing somebody, you want this to be your crotch level. For the most part, they're pretty consistently drawn with how the angles are. The angles change frequently with the characters and how they're drawn. And for the most part, their face shape retains face pretty well. There are some scenes where I'm like, what's happening here? I can't tell. But most of the book was pretty clear. I especially love the space art, though. The space art, I have a soft spot for. For the most part, the backgrounds are rendered, and then when we hit the action scenes, the action turns to solid color panels. And I found that to be not as distracting, and honestly, it was a good visual decision because I can tell what's happening in those panels and not have to deal with the muddiness of the background being included. The beginning of the book was pretty colorful, and then we got the middle of the book was also pretty colorful. Different color palette though, especially when they go on to Terra. It's a completely different color palette than when they're on Alfhelm. And then the final pages, they're more of a monochrome grayish scale desaturated version of the colors in the previous scene, and that's to reflect that he's just sad about Laurie's death. And I'm sad about her death because he had a major crush on her, and now he can't ask her out like he wanted to. He's on this other world. His love interest is dead. What is he gonna do now? Overall, I enjoy the art style, and I'd like to see more. Now it's on to lettering. The placement of the text bubbles are easy to read. The dialogue is very Middle English / old time English. The onomatopoeia is very heavy in the action scenes. Besides the onomatopoeia for the action scenes, there's not really much. There's not like crunching sounds like they're crunching on leaves or something, or maybe birds chirping. A little bit more environmental onomatopoeia would be really cool. But I really like the use of the onomatopoeia in the action scenes. It really helps pop the action scenes. It makes the action scenes feel more action-y and alive. And I enjoy how each character speaks a little bit differently than the other character. The characters don't sound like they're the same person injecting themselves into each little character. These characters feel like they're actual people, and because of that, they speak a little bit differently from each other. And it depends on the class they're in too, in how they speak. Like the princes speak differently than the rangers do. Now it's time for action. Fighting the boar is probably the big action moment in this comic. And then Laurie freaking dies. Oh my god, I'm so sad. This book, it's mostly drama. There's a lot of world set up between the dialogue that they're talking about with each other, but I don't even mind. I enjoy how it's done, and most of this is just drama, except for the action moments. But the action is built up with what's happening within the world. There's this tradition that we're following, and we gotta get this boar, and then we find the boar and we fight the boar, and that's pretty actiony. I like seeing each moment while fighting the boar. It's very fun to see, and I like seeing the boar give a huge fight. The boar is almost too much for these guys to handle. I mean, these guys, they lost Laurie because of the freaking boar. That's how dangerous the boar is. And I'm also thinking, oh boy, have other rangers just been dead because of this boar in the past? How often do they do this? How often do they have new rangers come in? As soon as the action happens, I like the fluid, the dynamicness of the artwork. It adds a lot of life to the action. And when the action happens, it really sucks me in because it's oh my goodness, this is the big build up, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it happen in front of my eyes for the first time. And now the drama. The princes want to look at the rangers. They want to see them do good, so they join the hunt. Drake doesn't like the royalty, and he's going to ask out Laurie later. I like the conflicts between the princes and the rangers. That's fun. The light social banter doubles as the exposition and the social bickering / connection. It really helps establish the world, and it helps establish their connections to each other, their relationships to each other. The prince is impatient, so Drake is haha, you're impatient. What else are you going to be impatient about, right? Just you teasing him. The Empress wants the ruby, and she thought that the ruby was destroyed, but it turns out it wasn't. She just has to go find the pieces of the ruby. I'm guessing this ruby has a lot of power, or why else would you care about this gemstone? Who cares about gemstones? Well, I guess some people do, but I don't. I'm not a jewelry person. She's also being told to invade Terra, so there's chick in the astral plane looking at Terra, and then we got these guys teleporting on Terra, and this chick's about to start a war, which makes me think that they're going to be participant in a war that they didn't know was happening until they just like jump right into it. That's my guess for the second issue, is that they're just gonna jump right into a war that they didn't know was happening. Muhammad of Warren is appointed to protect Tara. Yeah, he's the one who's been making it difficult for Dracula because, oh my goodness, Dracula has made it so it's very dark for very long, but not anymore. And he's the reason for that. And he's going to make it so Dracula's weaker and weaker and weaker. Laurie dies on Tara, and then there's the healer man. He's like explaining where he's at, explaining the setting. And he's like, all right, guys, I think we got to move. And then Drake has to bury Laurie, and it's really sad, and then it's just them four. And that's the drama in this book. Oh my goodness, there's a decent amount of drama that has just got me feeling things. I keep saying it because this keeps being the most impactful thing to me in this book, but Laurie's death hit me. Oh my goodness. Now it's time to rate this on the salad scale. The story. I like the story. There's definitely something there. I'm interested to see what the future of the series holds. Standalone, it's a solid story for sure. There's a couple things that I had issue with when it comes to the thing that I pointed out earlier. That was probably just the biggest issue, is that that's just a little bit jarring. It's kind of out of place. Well, there might be a place for it, I just can't tell based on the context surrounding it. I just wish that the placement of that page was a little bit more clear. And so the story gets a 3.5. And then the art. The art is dynamic. The art is beautiful. The colors are well done. I like Jose Garcia's art style. I'm a little bit biased towards that for sure. I also just like the dynamicness of the action scenes. And I even like the dynamicness of the art when they're just like in the panels by themselves instead of just like showing them in a group, then it's kind of static. But when they're like showcased, like their personalities are showcased within a panel, it's very expressive. All of the facial expressions are pretty expressive. Only a few anatomy errors, which I saw, but they didn't take me out of the book, and I only caught them upon my third reread of this book. And so I've got to give the art, it's a 3.5. I'd only give it higher because there are some pages, some panels where I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on here. Not sure what's happening. This isn't really much of an issue until the action scene, and then the action scene happens, and like, some of it's a little bit muddy, like in terms of readability visually. So it gets a 3.5. The letters, easy to read dialogue, good placement of the text bubbles has got me reading down the page in the correct way. The onomatopoeia is there. It's very dynamic. I overall enjoy how much onomatopoeia there is. I feel like there should be a little bit more, but ultimately it's a good amount of onomatopoeia, especially in the action scenes. You need onomatopoeia in the action scenes to make any action scene in a comic book pop. So I'm gonna give the lettering, it's a 4. The action, there's not a ton of action, but whenever there is action, it's fast-paced, it's dynamic, it happens suddenly, like it would in the wild. You just got a freaking boar just comes out and out of nowhere, like nowhere was there this boar. But it was established that they're in predator territory, so they got to keep their eyes out. And honestly, it's Laurie's fault for not paying attention to her surroundings, even though she was the one who was like, we're in enemy territory now, keep an eye up, keep an eye out. The action is very fast and fun. Some of the action is not the most clearly readable, but ultimately, I enjoyed it, so I'd give the action 3.5. And then the drama. The drama really is the core of this book. It's got me really interested in the story for sure, and I think the drama is pretty well done, especially considering the different relationships at play, familiarities at play, freaking classes are different, and we got the different classes are at play. That's really cool. Just seeing everybody interact with each other is generally satisfying, and I enjoy just the people talking in this book. It's really enjoyable. And so I've got to give the drama a 4. So what does this book get on the sound scale? It gets an 18.5 out of 25. And this has been Mince God Issues.